So I found it interesting that after the reveal at the end of episode 7 where it was Agatha All Along, episode 8, titled Previously On, turned around and basically said, no, actually, it wasn't. Because we learned that the whole reason Agatha lured Wanda to her basement was to interrogate her about how she made the hex. And I'm by no means calling this a plot hole. To the contrary, I think it's a great way to explain some of the weird stuff Agatha's been doing throughout the show. Her weird involvement in the show's narrative as like the nosy neighbor, and as seemingly the only Westview resident who kept breaking from the mind control. A good example of this was when Agatha wanted to redo a scene back in episode 5 because Vision made her forget her lines. In retrospect, I don't think that's what actually happened. In her monologue, Agatha told Wanda that she was trying to gently nudge Wanda out of the fantasy, but that Wanda's stubbornness about not confronting her demons kinda pushed Agatha to go for the go for broke approach. Meaning that the scene where she forgets her lines is actually one of Agnes's deliberate attempts to try to snap Wanda out of it, but it never worked. So this leads me to a very important question. If Agatha was asking Wanda how she did everything, then what exactly was Agatha doing? I say this because if Agatha's goal was to shake Wanda out of the reality so she can learn how Wanda created the hex, then I would say that the only action Agatha took that actually furthered the goal was making the fake Pietro and having him ask Wanda how she did it. But aside from that, Agatha's other reactions, primarily those of the first 2 episodes, were particularly strange. In the first 2 episodes, when Agatha introduces herself to Wanda, she starts to pry about Wanda's personal life and what she's doing in Westview. Now, on the surface, knowing what we know now about Agatha's motives, this makes perfect sense. She's collecting information in part of her investigation on how Wanda created the hex, but it doesn't quite explain the other strange parts of the episode, namely the dinner with the hearts and the for the children chants. Now let's begin with the dinner in the first episode. Now we know from Agatha's song that she was responsible for controlling Herb and is implied to be responsible for his weird behavior throughout the show. Now we can use this line of logic to infer that Agatha was also mind controlling the Hearts into asking Wanda and Vision why they were in Westview, and when they started asking too many questions, Mr. Hart starts to choke on his food, leading to Vision saving his life and the dinner being cut short. Now the reason the scene strikes such a chord with me is that Mr. Hart choking couldn't actually be because of Agatha. Agatha would have wanted to know the answers to the questions he was asking. Now, in the context of having watched episode 8 and seeing the mental state that Wanda was in when she first created the hex, it's not too far off to believe that she was the one who made Mr. Hart choke on his food because she wasn't ready to confront her demons just yet. But at the same time, you have to remember that we're still just speculating that it was Agatha doing all of this to the Hearts. There was never any confirmation that Agatha was controlling the Hearts in the same way she was manipulating the fake Pietro or Herb. And speaking of manipulating, I want to touch on episode 2 because that's when things start to get really weird. So out of all of the reveals that we've been getting these last couple weeks, the one thing that we still haven't had confirmation on is what the deal is with all the citizens of Westview constantly chanting for the children in unison. Theories at the time said it was a way to subconsciously convince Wanda to have kids. Now, even with Agatha's reveal, it's not exactly explained what the motivation for that would even be, and more so, why Agatha participated in it at all. So Agatha's motives as Agnes, the quirky neighbor, seems to run contrary to the ones that she expresses as Agatha Harkness. As Agatha, we learn that she wants to know how Wanda made Westview, presumably to take her magic or learn how to do it herself and be on her merry way. But what this doesn't explain is all of the other stuff that Agatha did as Agnes, especially when it came to Wanda's kids. Why would Agnes want Wanda to have kids? Did she know that that's what she was doing, or was she just going along with the plots that Wanda had already subconsciously written for that day's episode? If that's the case, it would mean that the for the children business was actually Wanda subconsciously convincing herself to have kids for some reason. Unless there's actually a third person who's been pulling the strings the entire time. I fucking wish. But regardless if Agnes meant to plant the idea of Wanda having children, come episode 3, Wanda is giving birth to twins. Also, if you guys are enjoying this video, then please subscribe with notifications on. It's absolutely easy, free, and you can cancel at any time. And while you're down there, please be sure to give this video a like. It helps me out a lot with the algorithm. Now, another subtle clue that Agatha isn't the one who's actually behind everything comes from director Hayward in episode 8, wherein he's the one that plants the idea of Wanda bringing Vision back to life, even though she didn't know that she could do that yet. It's not like the Avengers knew because Wanda didn't, and they only knew as much as Wanda knew because Strucker wiped all of the files when the Avengers infiltrated the Hydra base back in Avengers Age of Ultron. So the questions that we're left with are, how did Wanda make her children? Where did they come from? Why did she have them? And most importantly, what happens to the twins and Vision once the Hex goes away? Do they simply stop existing, or do they continue to exist without the Hex because Wanda basically willed them into reality? It just happened to be hers, but we know from Monica's clothing that that reality can still exist on the outside. But we also saw that Vision can't survive on the outside without the Hex, so maybe it only works with stuff that's been reorganized, as opposed to being created by Wanda's chaos magic. But if Wanda did actually birth her kids, they would be real, and they would be able to survive outside of the Hex. Now, as I write this, we are approximately 3 days away from the finale, and the after credit scenes and promotional images I've seen, it seems that we are going to get a three-way fight between Team WandaVision, Team Agnes, and Team Sword. I hope that the finale answers all these questions, but if it doesn't, I'm gonna be right here with a WandaVision's biggest plot holes video at the ready. I will be doing a reaction to the episode 9 finale, as well as the series breakdown of the entire show, so if you want to see those, as well as my other WandaVision videos, including my breakdowns and other reactions, then you can check out the entire WandaVision playlist right over here, right below that like button, and in the comments. Thanks for watching, bye!